I lost 50 pounds in 3 months, and this is my story. Only 1% of obese people ever reach a healthy weight again.
Shit doesn't come easy. If it was easy, everyone would do it. It's about how much fight do you have? How much are you willing to sacrifice in order to achieve something?
I don't want to get diabetes. I don't want to die early. I need food. I want to fucking eat. Maybe it's not worth it to lose weight. Maybe I'm not strong enough. I don't care if I don't have the skills, the talent, or even the self-belief that I can do this. I'm going to give everything I have into making this goal a reality.
Let's fucking go!
This is the hardest battle of my life, and I'm winning it. This is how I lost 50 pounds in 3 months, from obese to healthy in 100 days. How I became obese. Before we get into these 3 months, I want to explain how I actually got into this situation. You see, I've been a chubby dude ever since I can remember. When I was born, I was apparently in the 110th percentile for weight for newborn babies. I don't think that's how math works, but essentially, I was so fat that I literally broke the system. No, dude, I remember I came on my mom's stomach, and I remember this doctor looking down at me, and he said in the most disgusting voice, "That is one fat motherfucker." Nah, I'm just kidding, but anyway, from that point on, I would basically be overweight for my entire life, and I hovered around the 27 to 28 BMI range for years. I grew up with a food addiction, and although this sounds really sad, it was really one of my only sources of comfort growing up. I was quite frankly extremely socially unaware during my childhood. I basically got bullied almost every single day during elementary school. I basically didn't really have real friends until I was 12 years old. Living in an Asian American household, it also didn't feel like I was receiving much emotional support at home either. Really, one of the only ways I could make myself feel better was to eat, and I'm sure a lot of people watching this video can also relate to that feeling. Regardless of what the situation was, I would always turn it into an excuse to just gorge my face. If I was bored, eat. If I was sad, eat. If I was lonely, eat. If I was excited, eat. You get the idea. If food was person, that would have been one hell of a toxic relationship. I would have probably cut that girl off by now. But guess what? I literally have to maintain a relationship with food in order to survive. Unlike other addictions, with food, you can't go cold turkey on it or else you will literally die. That is what makes food addiction one of the hardest addictions you can overcome. Because I was a child and still growing, this issue never really got too out of hand. My parents and doctors always told me that I would have to fix my eating issues before I was an adult, but I didn't really take them seriously because, hey, I was just a kid. Eating Cheetos and drinking Kool-Aid was much more important to me at the time than decreasing my long-term risk of heart disease. In high school, I started taking tennis seriously for the very first time. Even though I played tennis since I was 6 years old, it didn't really have an appreciable impact on my physique until I was about 15. Freshman year of high school, I weighed 175 pounds and I was 5 foot 6 inches tall, which put me right at the 28 BMI mark. Just a middle of the road overweight kid. A year later, as a sophomore, I was 165 pounds and I was 5 foot 9.5 inches tall, only an inch shorter than I am now, and I had a BMI of 24.7, which was within the normal range. This was the first time in my entire life where I was in that range, and it undoubtedly helped me reach the peak of my tennis career during the summer of 2018. These were actually the results that carried me into getting recruited for college tennis. Then, disaster struck. At the end of my junior year, I discovered I had a right foot stress fracture. 2 months later, when I went to my first practice after the injury, I fractured a bone in my left wrist that caused me pain for over a year. In fact, to this day, it still affects the way I hit my two-handed backhand. I was already a little bit burned out from playing tennis so much over the past few years. I just used these injuries as an excuse to sit at home and do absolutely nothing. Sure, I still love tennis, but I was reveling in the opportunity to just sit on my ass and watch Netflix all day instead of actually going out there and exercising and maintaining a healthy body. After gaining some, or quite frankly many pounds, I was ready to come back from my high school senior season during the spring of 2020, and as we all know, the pandemic happened. All the bad habits I developed over the years suddenly became much worse with this sudden loneliness, and the only way I could stop feeling depressed during quarantine was, by eating a lot. Way too much. By the time I went to college for my first in-person semester during spring 2021, I weighed about 217 pounds, and after taking full advantage of the unlimited dining hall food, I came back in June 2021 weighing 226 pounds. Growing up, my parents always wanted me to quit tennis to focus on academics, and I always pushed back on them, partially because, yes, I really loved the sport, but the other part was because I knew that without tennis and without exercise, my weight would get out of control very, very rapidly. And of course, that is exactly what happened. Wake-up calls. Before my weigh-in at the end of my spring semester, I was in full-blown denial about my health. But there was these little moments throughout the first half of 2021 that made me start to come out of this denial. I made this vlog about MIT life that I never ended up posting because I looked so big in the footage. And I was honestly just embarrassed of myself. My dorm room was on the 5th floor, and every single time I came up the stairs, it felt like I could barely breathe. When I went to tennis practice, I couldn't play for more than an hour at a time, and that's really pathetic for someone who's supposed to be a college athlete. And to top it all off, I had this burning sensation in my right thigh almost every single day right before I went to sleep. And when I looked up what was going on with me, the leading cause of what I was experiencing was obesity. But denial is such a strong force that these signs didn't really get to me until I actually saw a tangible number for my weight. One of my friends brought in a scale to make sure his luggage wasn't over the weight limit at the airport, and the last time I actually knew my weight was because of a yearly checkup I did right before the pandemic. And in that one, I learned that I hit 200 pounds for the first time in my entire life. I knew for a fact that I weighed more than I did back then, but I didn't think it would be by that much. You know, maybe 205 pounds, 210 pounds at the very most. I stepped on the scale, and it was one of the worst moments of my entire life. 234 pounds. This measurement came after I'd eaten 3 massive meals, so my true weight was about 226 pounds, which I discovered a day later, but either way, that shit woke me up very quickly and rapidly sent me down a very dark place. To top this all off, our friends made this shared Google Drive in order for us to collect all our pictures from the semester. Now, obviously, I didn't look good in any of these, but there's one in particular that made me absolutely mortified, and it's probably the one that I actually used for the thumbnail of this video. This picture, honestly, is probably the straw that broke the camel's back. After seeing that photo, I decided to make my main goal for the summer to lose the weight. This was my rock bottom moment. I truly felt like if I didn't make a change at that time, it was never gonna happen. I immediately went to one of my Snapchat private stories where only my closest friends from high school could actually see the mental breakdown that I was having. I'll flash on the screen some of the depressing messages that I actually wrote on there, and you can pause if you want to read them. This is kind of like the mindset I was in at that time. I immediately went home and made a video about my summer goals, and in it you can see I set a goal for myself to lose weight.
I won't say exactly how much weight I've gained, but I've gone up 4 to 5 BMIs in the past 2 years, and that's disturbing to me. I'm quite frankly disgusted with myself that I let that happen. My goal this summer is to lose 2 pounds every week, at least. And since there's 14 weeks this summer, that means that my goal is to lose about 30 pounds. That's not gonna be easy, but it's not about feeling sorry for ourselves. We're getting this shit done, so no excuses. Absolutely no excuses need to be made.
Throughout the summer, I wanted to remember this self-hatred and anger that I felt during the week after the weigh-in, and I used it as fuel and motivation throughout the next 3 months. Some of the best advice I've ever heard is to turn your pain in any bad situation into a fire to fix it. Due to various events in my life, I've always felt that I was a fighter, but my weight and my body had always been my biggest insecurity. I seriously considered purposely gaining weight. I wanted to reach a point where I could qualify for bariatric surgery. In simpler terms, in order to solve my issues, I wanted to get so fat that I would qualify for having my stomach stapled, instead of actually trying to figure out a way to solve my issues on my own. That is exactly how hopeless I felt. And after realizing how crazy that mindset was and how scared I was of surgery in general, I thankfully moved on from those thoughts, but it's still scary to know that I was essentially going to eat myself into morbid obesity on purpose. Throughout my entire life, I remember thinking to myself that other than losing weight, I was completely unstoppable. I wanted to prove to myself that I truly was what I thought I was, and what better way to do that than by fighting and possibly beating the biggest obstacle of my entire life. There was no natural talent that helped me through this. There were no shortcuts, there was no way to cheat the system. This was about me and my mentality. This was about my willpower. Figuring out the why. Figuring out your why is the most important part of this entire process. Without a strong why, as in why you're doing this, you will fail in times of low motivation. I tried to lose weight earlier in my life, mainly just to look better, and it never actually worked. It wasn't a strong enough reason for me to actually go through the pain and the suffering of eating less, exercising more. Now I had a much stronger motivation to get back into shape to save my life and, quite frankly, my tennis career. Honestly, what I kept telling myself is I don't want to die. I found my why, and you need to as well. One of my life's mottos is that I fear regret more than I fear pain or failure. Yes, it's going to be extremely hard to stop eating food. Yes, it would hurt so fucking bad to try to lose weight and end up just not succeeding whatsoever. But in my opinion, it would hurt a lot worse to know that I didn't even try to change my life for the better. At the end of the day, there is a huge difference between thinking you should do something and actually wanting to do something. It's really about analyzing your wants and your desires and the pros and cons that come with eating, and coming to a concrete realization that losing weight actually is worth the sacrifice. Without this sort of concrete realization, it's going to be next to impossible to make meaningful change. If you aren't able to come to the conclusion on your own, maybe change isn't for you, and that's perfectly fine. But for me, I knew it was time to make a move. Calories in, calories out. The only thing you need to know scientifically speaking in order to lose weight is this. 3,500 calories equals 1 pound of fat. If I burn 3,500 calories more than I consume over a period of time, I will lose 1 pound. On the flip side, if I consume 3,500 calories more than I burn, I will gain 1 pound. That means over the course of 100 days, I burned roughly 175,000 calories more than I consumed. This is really the most important thing you need to know mechanically speaking about weight loss, and it's going to be the basis of how fast and really if you're gonna lose weight. One of the best sayings I've ever heard is that weight loss is simple, not easy. In theory, all it comes down to is calories in, calories out. You need to eat less food while moving more. However, the psychology behind it is so much more complex than that. I would say that if you're obese, it's extremely likely you have an unhealthy relationship with food. And chances are you're probably addicted to food to some capacity. Figuring out your body, fixing your psychology, almost gaming the system so that you feel okay with eating less, that stuff is hard, it's complex, and it really fucking sucks. I want you to know that you should never let yourself feel bad for finding this path hard. I've heard people who just don't understand what it's like to be addicted to food say, just eat less. I think that is quite frankly ridiculous. It might seem simple on the surface, but there is so much more to this process than what meets the eye. Trust me, I would know. Month 1, June 4th to July 3rd. I'm gonna start every month by breaking down the calories I consumed and burned every day, just to give you a rough idea of my habits, but to also show you that the science behind weight loss actually works. I averaged 1,400 calories consumed per day this month. I burned about 300 calories a day from exercise, which included about 1 hour of tennis and 5 hours of basketball every week. At 226 pounds, I burnt about 2,500 calories a day just by existing, amounting to a 1,400 calorie deficit every single day. Over these 30 days, I lost 13 pounds, going from 226 to 213 pounds, for an average of about 3 pounds per week. When I left for college, my parents moved to a new state, and I knew that if I stayed with my parents in a new city where I basically didn't know anyone, honestly, I knew it was going to be hard for me to find comfort in anything other than food, which is, again, a recipe for disaster as we have seen from my history. So, during this month, I actually stayed in my high school tennis coach's house in my old hometown, and I really hope he's watching this video because I want to give a huge shout out to him and his family for helping me on this journey. Because I was in someone else's house and staying in a room in their basement, I really did not have a lot of access to food. Like, all the food was in the kitchen, which was upstairs, and obviously, since it was someone else's house, I didn't want to like dig through their pantry for food. If something is in the house, I will get my hands on it and I will eat it. That's just the way I functioned back then, and I'm sure a lot of people who are watching this video can probably relate to that feeling. 3 weeks into the summer, I was so nervous stepping on the scale for the very first time. I didn't even believe in the process that I was doing. I didn't believe that 25 to 30 pounds itself was an achievable goal at the time. In my past, I had so many issues with food and so many failed attempts at losing weight from the past. Why would I actually believe that this time would be any different? I decided to not weigh myself on my birthday like I had originally planned because I didn't want to ruin my birthday. I knew that I was meticulously tracking my calories and I was even overestimating at times how much food I was consuming. I was still skeptical that all of this weight loss stuff even worked in the first place. On June 26th, the day after my 19th birthday, I decided to finally do it. I'm not even kidding, it probably took me about 5 minutes of staring at the scale for me to actually get on it. What if I don't get the result that I want? What if all the self-control and discipline of the past 3 weeks was all for nothing? What if I realized that this is a fight that I just can't win? I knew that standing there and asking all these painful questions to myself wasn't gonna give me an answer. I had to find out for myself. I looked down at the scale and it says 215. Pure relief flooded over me. This wasn't a super surprising result because by my calorie counting, I was supposed to be losing over 2 pounds a week in fat. But like I said, I was in so much doubt about my ability to actually make progress in this arena of my life that I didn't believe I actually was making progress until I got numerical evidence, even though I could already see in my body that changes were happening and they were happening very quickly. That day, I could finally say to myself with full conviction that, wow, I can do this. This is possible. And that was such a powerful feeling. I set this almost sarcastic goal for myself to lose 50 pounds by the time I went back to school during the fall. At the pace I was going, losing 11 pounds in 22 days, this was theoretically possible, but as my weight would go down, it would only become harder and harder to lose weight with the amount of calories I was burning just by existing going down and down. I really almost set this goal for myself higher than what I thought I could actually ever possibly do. I wanted to set a goal that was so absurd that I would push myself as hard as I could to reach this seemingly insane goal. And, never in my wildest dreams did I believe I would ever actually get there. People say that losing weight won't solve all your problems, and I certainly agree with that thinking. But I will say that much of the time, losing weight can be a catalyst for you to solve many other issues in your life. Much of my eating was emotional in the past, just like many other people's probably is. In order to fix this, I had to fix so many other emotional problems within myself, whether they were explicitly related to food or not. Wanting to lose weight forced me to tackle all the other parts of my life that were sort of fundamentally broken in a sense, and that were contributing to this wider issue of being obese. For most people, getting to the point that you're obese is a sign of a much deeper issue, whether that's emotional, mental, or even financial. I think it's really important to analyze exactly what is troubling you in your life and actually is causing these unhealthy habits to form. I had to learn how to occupy and fulfill myself completely without the use of food. Every time I felt quote unquote hungry and I knew it was probably I was just feeling lonely or bored, I always made myself do something else in order to make sure that I was actually hungry. For example, I would try to exercise by playing tennis, playing basketball, walking around. I would socialize by talking to my friends, just texting them, calling them, or just playing like games with them like Minecraft or something else. And only if I truly felt hungry after doing some sort of activity would I let myself eat. There is a huge difference between being truly hungry and needing sustenance to survive versus wanting to eat food and only eating food because you need a certain stimulus, because you're feeling a negative emotion. Month 2, July 4th to August 4th. I average about 1,300 calories consumed per day, while averaging 1,000 calories burned during exercise. I use an exercise bike 3 to 4 hours a week, play tennis 3 to 6 hours a week, and play basketball about 5 to 6 hours per week. At 213 pounds, I burn 2,400 calories a day just by existing, and this all amounts to a 2,100 calorie deficit a day. And as a result, over these 32 days, I lost 20 pounds, going from 213 pounds to 193 for a rate of about 4.5 pounds lost per week. I had to move out of my coach's house and I ended up moving into another person's basement, this time being a family friend. And once again, I would like to give a huge shout out to that family for letting me stay there with them. This is the month I started to go to the gym for the very first time in my life. I had this good friend from high school named Varun, this guy right here, and he told me he was planning to go to Planet Fitness during the summer one day while we were shooting hoops. And I seriously considered joining him. But before I really started going to the gym, there were so many intrusive thoughts like flooding my brain at this point. Things like, I'm gonna be so embarrassed, everyone in there is gonna stare at me, I'm gonna have no idea what I'm doing, it's gonna be such a bad experience. That's what I kept thinking to myself. And you might be thinking to yourself, Joseph, you play tennis, how is it possible you've never worked out other than playing tennis in your entire life? And honestly, in high school, almost every single other tennis player who was ranked in or near the top 100 nationally like I was, they definitely worked out a ton, constantly trying to push themselves to the next level physically. Me, my only exercise in my entire life was basically just playing tennis, and that's pretty pathetic. And that explains why I was so nervous about the gym, because it was something that I had just never experienced. Ultimately, I knew that if I wanted to start playing tennis again, and if I really wanted to lose weight quickly, I had to conquer these demons, and I had to eventually, go to the gym. Me and Varun went to the gym about 3 times a week during this month, and it was really helpful for me and him to both be there for each other, to join each other and hold each other accountable for workouts, and to actually go to the gym consistently. Truly, the first time going to the gym for me was the hardest. You feel like everyone's watching you, everyone's judging you, everything is so scary when you walk in there for the very first time. It definitely helps that I went to Planet Fitness. There are so many memes online about how soft Planet Fitness is. With that being said, the gym was really not even 10% as scary as I initially imagined. I can personally say that I honestly respect people who are out of shape and obese or overweight and going to the gym more than I do people who are already jacked and are going to the gym. When you're jacked already, yes, I commend you a lot for working so hard on your body and working on yourself for so many years. But I think it's harder for the person who is still out of shape. One, for the embarrassment factor, but the other factor is that going to the gym is not something that they're used to probably. During the scope of the 3 months that I'm talking about in this video, I was there. Let me tell you, it is one of the hardest things that I've ever done, to have to drag my ass to the gym while being obese. Like that's not fun. That's not fun whatsoever. My gym routine that summer was literally just going on a stationary bike for an hour. That was it. That was my entire workout. My first time using the bike, I had to stop midway through my first hour doing it because I was just so exhausted. I couldn't handle the workload. And by the end of the first total 60 minutes of that bike ride, I had burned about 500 calories. The next time I went, I only had to take a break 40 minutes into the session, and I ended up burning a total of 600 calories. Then the very next time, I didn't take a single break. I ended up burning a total of 630 calories. As you can see, this was a progression. I was improving consistently. And this progression continued on for the next 2 months of my life. I was riding the bike 3 to 4 times every single week. I was seeing progress basically every single time I went on there. Pushing yourself harder and harder to reach higher and higher levels of physical exertion. That was extremely empowering to me because I had never done something like this before. I never consistently worked on my body other than just playing tennis. It really became like a game almost to me to see those numbers constantly go up and up and up. It was really fun. By the end of the summer, I was burning 750 calories per hour without breaks and was probably in the best cardiovascular shape of my entire life up to that point. The stationary bike, as funny as it sounds, completely changed my life. I estimate that I lost about 10 pounds from the stationary bike alone during that summer. The stationary bike helped me realize like maybe it isn't so far-fetched that I can actually become an athlete once again. I felt like for the first time in years, I was truly taking care of myself. I was exercising daily. I was pushing myself to the limit with cardio. My diet was full of good proteins like tofu and chicken, fruits, vegetables, and I was drinking tons and tons of water. I was so energetic because I was fueling my body the right way every day. I was meditating constantly, and I was finding healthy ways to cope with any stress or anxiety I would feel on a daily basis. I would call my friends, I would play basketball, I'd play tennis. Anytime I felt a negative emotion, I found a healthy way to cope with it that wasn't just eating food. On July 13th, I met up with one of my good friends named Jesse from college, and he also happened to live in Illinois. He took this picture of me and he put it on his Instagram story. Now, if you look at this photo, I am still, all things considered, pretty chubby here. You're probably used to seeing the current me at 160 pounds talk to you about my experience in this video, and this is a very drastic change from being 160 pounds. But in this photo, I am 206 pounds, and that is a significant difference from what I started at during the summer. I would look in the mirror and almost become shocked at the progress I was seeing. It felt like almost every single day I could see a change in my physique, and that's because of how fast my weight was coming off. I saw this picture, and I could honestly say for the first time in what felt like years that I liked what I saw. Obviously, I still had a lot of progress to make. I knew that. Everyone knows that. Everyone can look at this picture and still recognize that, hey, this guy is still pretty chubby. He's still overweight. That feeling of like liking what I saw wasn't just about how I objectively looked. It was also about how hard I had worked to get to that point. And I was so proud of myself for putting in the effort to look like that after looking like this only a few months prior. You see, I have almost never liked the way I've looked throughout my entire life. Even now, I do not particularly enjoy the way I look on camera or in real life. The reason to this day why I don't have legit quote-unquote progress photos is because, well, I hated the way I looked so much that I never took pictures unless I absolutely had to. Another factor in that was that I didn't believe that progress would actually happen, so I thought that if I took progress photos, those would be extremely depressing to look back on because if I didn't actually make progress, how stupid it would look to have these shirtless pictures of myself while still actually looking the same after trying to go on a weight loss journey. That would look really stupid. That positive energy I felt that day from looking at the Instagram story really helped fuel me for the rest of the summer, and it comes back into my life every single time I decide to work on my body again. In general, I feel like having these important events in my life and creating these personal narratives has helped me so much. Again, because of many events in my past, I've always considered myself to be a fighter. Throughout this experience, I kept reviewing that quote-unquote storyline in my head through the experiences I was doing and the way I was pushing myself. I renewed my confidence in that storyline every single day. I look gross right now because I just did an hour of bike. First time in probably at least 25 months, first digit of my weight is a 1.
It's a 1. Thank fucking God. There was a couple weeks in my life where I was kind of resigned to maybe for the rest of my life, the first digit of my weight would be a 2. And I said no. We're not letting that happen. For my health, for everything, man. For quality of life. Yesterday was the last day of my life where my first digit of my weight is gonna be a 2. I swear. I swear. I'm making a promise to you, to me, to my family, to my friends, everyone. Let's keep going, man. Let's keep going, man.
Every time I looked in the mirror and I saw changes, I said to myself, yes! I'm the motherfucker who did that. I did this. I deserve the credit. I deserve to be proud of myself. One huge thing I learned during July is that there's a big difference between hating yourself and hating what your weight has done to your life. Hating yourself and feeding yourself negativity is super toxic. And yes, it can work. And it did work for me for a while. But ultimately, if you tell yourself that you suck, that you're worthless, that you can't do anything right enough times, you're going to eventually start to actually believe it. I had so much negativity swirling around in my mind about my weight and about my life. And although this quote unquote tough self-love was motivating me, I knew it wasn't fully healthy or sustainable. I had to change my perspective so that I was losing weight because I loved myself, that I wanted what was best for me, instead of going with this internal narrative that I hated myself so much that I had to change who I fundamentally was. To put it simply, instead of telling myself that I'm too fat, I started telling myself that I deserve better. Month 3, August 5th to September 14th. Here it is, the last 40 days of my journey. I averaged 1,500 calories consumed per day this month and about 700 calories a day burned from exercise, so a slight decrease from last month. I used the exercise bike about 4 to 5 hours a week and I played basketball about 7 to 8 hours a week. I burned about 2,300 calories a day just by existing at 193 pounds, resulting in a 1,500 calorie deficit a day. As a result, I went from 193 to 176 pounds this month for 17 pounds lost and a rate of about 3 pounds per week. On August 8th, it was time for me to go back to my parents' home. I was honestly super excited to go home, partially because I wanted to see my parents again, but also because I weighed 35 pounds less than I did when they sent me off to Illinois in June. I cannot tell you how much I was looking forward to their first reaction to me, and I might have hyped up my weight loss a little bit too much to them because this is the reaction that I got.
Is it noticeable?
Yes. 原来那个，你看那个相片儿。
Obviously, they were very happy for me, but I didn't get quite the celebration that I would have wanted. While things went about as well as they possibly could have this summer, in the middle of August, I hit a plateau for about 10 days. I was still eating the same amount of calories and doing the same amount of exercise, but the weight on the scale just refused to go down for some reason. This was the first time this summer that I had faced genuine adversity outside of just general hunger pains and the emotions associated with that. Even though I had lost more than 40 pounds to that point, I started having these defeatist thoughts again. My metabolism is just too slow. This is just who I am. I'm just not good enough to do this. These were the same exact thoughts I had been having for the past 2 years of my life. As it turns out, I was eating so much watermelon every day and drinking so much water that I was holding onto a bunch of, well, water weight. One night I woke up, used the restroom for about 2 minutes straight, and the next morning I was 5 pounds down from the day before. Magic. All this is to say that you can't expect your weight to go down every day, even every week. You will have random fluctuations no matter what, even if you have as strict of a plan as I did. Please don't let this apparent lack of progress faze you. If you know you should be losing weight and you're being completely honest with yourself, please just give yourself time and patience. I'm sure you'll get the results you want eventually. The human body is just stupid and water weight is extremely annoying. You'll learn that very soon if you actually start to go down this endeavor. Throughout this entire process, you have to keep reminding yourself constantly about why you're doing all of this work. That's what kept me sane during this plateau. How will my life improve once I've lost this weight? How will my life change? What will I be able to do once I reach my goal? The answers to these questions should be meaningful to you, and they should help fuel your journey throughout the toughest moments.
Bada bing, bada boom, bada boom, bada boom. Oh, fuck, it went away. Hold on, give me a sec. Bada bing, bada boom, boom.
I went back to my college campus on September 6th and I weighed 180 pounds, a whopping 46 pounds below where I was the last time that I was there. My friends were clearly surprised, but since I had told many of them about my journey, they weren't too shocked to see me at my new state. On the other hand, it was extremely funny and in many ways rewarding to see some of my acquaintances look at me and go, "What the hell happened to you?" I would get lines along the lines of, "Bro, I didn't recognize you at first and you don't look like the same person." And did that make me feel good? Oh, fuck yeah, it made me feel good, bro. Like, this is how I looked literally 3 months ago, and this is how I looked during September. Like, that's a big difference, and clearly that was a huge sacrifice to get there. I'm not gonna lie to you, I allowed my ego to boost itself for a few days, maybe even a few weeks, and why the hell would I not? I just went through so much discipline, emotions, and hard work over the past 3 months. I deserved this reception. I deserved this, man. For the first time since I was 16 years old, I wasn't embarrassed to call myself an athlete. And for the first time in many years, it wasn't ridiculous to say that I played tennis instead of football. This reaction I got helped me push through my final 8 days, and even with the unlimited dining hall food at my disposal, by the time it was September 14th, it was time for the final weigh-in. 176 pounds. 50 pounds in 100 days. From obese to healthy in 3 months. I had officially made it happen, and it was the proudest moment of my entire life.
Hello. Today's the day after I broke 50 pounds lost, and I just want to say today I had practice, best practice I've had in about 3 years, and I think I can safely say that I am probably in the best shape of my life, and that's stunning to me because literally 103 days ago I was obese, 50 pounds overweight. Like, I can't believe that this has happened to me. I can't believe I've changed so much so quickly. Moving around the court, being able to hit shots and jump up, be explosive with your feet, power through your shot, run as fast as you can for a drop shot. I couldn't do that last semester. I couldn't do that 100 days ago. Something that I kept telling my friends is like, when I got so much more energy back, when I started to look like it used to look before I gained all the weight, it kind of felt like I had the old me back. The me before COVID happened, before my injuries happened, like the guy who was always energetic, who had life to him almost, you know what I mean? And today I feel like I can safely say that I'm back. The old me is back. Today was incredibly rewarding just to see the hard work that I put in for 3 months of my life to make a change for my health, my tennis, my life in general, my happiness, and see it actually is coming together, and it really has made a meaningful impact on my life, and that means the world to me.
How I'm doing now. I weighed 178.5 pounds at the end of my sophomore year, which is a slight weight gain, which is honestly to be expected with the fact that dining hall food is so unlimited and also super unhealthy. I was honestly proud of myself for not gaining more weight during sophomore year. And honestly, I was slightly surprised. I really showed that I at least had some capacity to keep this weight off, and that was all I needed to have the confidence to keep going and keep maintaining my weight loss. It really comforted me that, hey, even without a ton of explicit calorie counting, I could still maintain a relatively healthy weight. Before last summer, which was the summer after my sophomore year, I told my friends I wanted to lose a bit more than 15 pounds that summer. And my friends looked at me and went, 50 again? You're gonna fucking disappear, bro. But no, I meant 15 as in like 1.5. And my end goal was to weigh 160 pounds by the end of last summer. I ended up reaching my goal and then some during August of 2022. And as of the time I'm recording this video in January 2023, I currently weigh 162 pounds after a little bit of a holiday weight gain. This is what I look like. Hi. I was getting to the point where in the shower, I couldn't see my manhood. Until basically 6 months ago, I've had somewhat of a stomach, and now it's no longer there. It's like magic. This is basically what I looked like 6 months ago. And basically less than 2 years ago, this on the screen is what I looked like instead. That's what you get when you work hard. It's amazing. For the first time in my life, I started a serious weightlifting routine. I'm gonna flash my weekly schedule on the screen for like 5 seconds because it's not that important to the story, but you can pause here and even, give me some pointers if you're into lifting. I'd appreciate any help I can get. I'm using almost exclusively machines for lifting because I know how bad my body is at coordinating itself the right way. I mean, look at my forehand, dude. What the hell is that? And what the hell is that jump shot? The whole point of this sort of tangent is that I'm enjoying this. I'm enjoying exercising. I'm enjoying working on my body. And I know that I won't see results nearly as quickly as some other people might when they're starting out weightlifting because I'm not willing to bulk at all or to gain muscle. But like I said earlier, it's still fun to see progress on your body, even if it may be marginal. And I think there's definitely been a noticeable change, especially in my upper body from about, I would say, 12 months ago. The last thing that I want to comment on is that my entire life, I've always felt large. Like in any given room growing up, I was always going to be one of the heaviest people in there. I was playing pickup basketball and this 6 foot plus, 200 plus pound dude scores on me in the post and basically screamed at me, "Get your ass in the weight room." I almost wanted to like shake his hand and thank the guy because that was the first time in my entire life where I have been shamed for not weighing enough. Oh boy, how quickly those tables turn. Going to the gym, I actually feel small for once. I mean, there are a lot of women in there who could probably bench my ass without even trying. While a lot of people in the gym still intimidate me to this day, it's honestly nice to not feel big all the time. Truly, it feels so good to not stand out for all the wrong reasons. What I learned. I want to start off with a quote from the late great Kobe Bryant. When you make a choice and say, come hell or high water, I'm going to be this, you should not be surprised when you are that. It should not be something that is intoxicating or out of character because you have seen this moment for so long that when that moment comes, of course it is here because it has been here the whole time, because it has been in your mind the whole time. When I finally got to the 50 pounds down mark, it probably was the proudest moment of my life, higher up than even getting into college. But I wasn't surprised at all. I knew the work I had put in. I knew how much I had sacrificed to get to that point, and I knew how badly I had wanted to get to that point. So in the end, when that moment came, I wasn't surprised when I had finally become a better version of myself. My waist went from 42 to 34 inches in 3 months. I used to have to wear extra large size clothing, going on double XL, and now I can wear mediums. I have more energy than I could have ever imagined when I was over 200 pounds. I am so much healthier now, obviously physically, but also mentally and emotionally. I've gone through a lot of tough moments throughout the past year, but this journey has reaffirmed to me just how much I actually care about myself, and honestly how much I care about my life. I know that I'm worth it now, that I'm worth fighting for, and I know that I'll do everything that I can to pull myself out of moments of despair. I will never forget that lesson. If there's one thing I want you all to know from this video, it's that honestly, self-confidence is a little bit overrated. And let me explain. Again, at the beginning of these 3 months, I didn't think I'd even come close to reaching my initial goal of 30 pounds lost by the beginning of the school year. I had absolutely no belief I could pull something like this off. But in the end, that didn't matter. Sure, some confidence probably would have helped me, but I decided that regardless of how I felt, I was going to push myself. I was going to fight. I was going to work as hard as I possibly could in order to pull this off. And I ended up fucking doing it. That's what makes this journey so incredible to me. That's why I'll never forget this moment in my life. Give yourself a chance, even if you don't think you have one. I want to emphasize that I didn't purposely throw up, take any supplements, or hire any expensive personal trainer in order to accomplish any of this. I didn't barf a single time in 3 months. I paid $20 a month for a Planet Fitness membership, and the only supplement-like thing I took during these 3 months was kids' multivitamin gummies. You don't need insane money to do this. You don't need to resort to extreme measures in order to lose weight. It's not necessary. Yes, it will take time. Yes, it will take lots and lots of effort, blood, sweat, and tears. Lots and lots of tears. But no one said it was gonna be easy. Take ownership of your life. You are allowed to feel sorry for yourself, but understand that at the end of the day, you are responsible for bettering yourself. It might not have been entirely your fault that you ended up in this piss poor negative situation, but it is your responsibility to figure out a way to get out of it. Take control, go out there, and fucking make it happen. If you're ever lucky enough to reach your goals and or get to a point where you're satisfied with your weight, you need to understand you can't just go back to your old habits. Congratulations, you did it. You had disciplined habits for, I don't know, years, months. If you go back to your old habits, that is literally the marquee way of gaining your weight back. This is a lifelong battle. Realistically, I'll have to watch my weight for the rest of my life. And I understand that, and I fully embrace that reality. This is all about making a change and committing to it for the rest of your life. I do want to warn people that losing weight so quickly is not ideal. In fact, it can be dangerous. What I did was clearly not the safest option I could have taken. Most doctors will recommend that you lose anywhere from 0.5 to 2 pounds a week if you're not morbidly obese. And during the course of the summer, I averaged about 3.5 pounds of weight loss every single week. I think during the summer of 2021, I was at a point in my life where I had to see results quickly in order to believe that any progress could actually be made. I had to do it in order to stay motivated. Like, I was so much in my head about my weight and my inability to lose weight and how I looked and the way I felt that I think if I didn't make a move at that time and I didn't make a drastic move, I might not have ever been able to lose the weight. Even though I'm saying this, I really think that following medical recommendations can prevent people from having scary thoughts about food. I've been fortunate enough to largely avoid those effects, but I can tell you personally that I definitely had some tense moments when it came to eating that summer. I will say that if you find yourself in a situation where you have the patience to lose weight at a normal rate, like 0.5 pounds to 2 pounds a week, you should do that. I grew and shrunk more than I could have ever imagined during that summer. It's like I finally got the monkey off my back. Actually, Wait, how much do monkeys weigh? Let me Google that real quick. Medium monkeys weigh between 15 to 30 pounds. Okay, so actually be more like fucking 2 to 3 monkeys, actually, depending on the size of them. I can look in the mirror, or in this case, the camera now, and truly really say that I like the person looking back at me. I am truly so proud of myself. I am so happy that I made this change, and I hope that you can all find that same joy and pride in your own journeys one day as well. Final thoughts. As long as you're still breathing, it's not over. Until the day you die, you have the power within you to make a change. Absolutely all of the odds were against me. I was only at a healthy weight for 1 out of the 19 years of my life at that point. I literally just rebounded off thinking the best solution to my problem was to purposely gain weight in order to qualify for surgery. I basically never went to the gym before in my entire life. No one would have believed you if you told them I would lose 50 pounds that summer. Not my friends, not my family, not even me. I was halfway convinced that this would never work, that this was doomed to fail, just like how I would always succumb to my eating addiction over the past 18 years of my life. I gave myself one last chance to prove that I could pull it off, and I did it. You have to give yourself an opportunity. Even if you don't believe in yourself, please just give yourself a chance. If I didn't do that, I wouldn't be where I am today. I wouldn't be making this video, and I wouldn't be getting into the best shape of my life right now. I'm basically at the lowest weight I've ever been since middle school, and yet I am the strongest I've ever been in my entire life. A lot of people say you should be inspired by other success in the face of adversity, and I think that's great. Go ahead, be inspired. But having learned from my own journey, I say you should strive to become your own hero, to face your biggest obstacles head on, and to try your absolute hardest to defeat them. You can do this. You can win. I believe in you, and you should too. Thank you so much again for watching. And if you're still here, it means you probably found that at least somewhat enjoyable and or entertaining. So please do me and others struggling with their weight a huge favor and like and subscribe to the channel. Again, I have never wanted a video to do well so badly. I really think this has the potential to help hundreds, thousands, maybe even hundreds of thousands of people with this problem. But that's all I have to say. This video has taken me over 50 hours to create, and I am tired as fuck. So with that being said, stay anxious everyone, have a beautiful rest of your day, and don't be afraid to fight to become the best possible version of yourself. Peace out.